Hello and welcome. My name is Ahmad and today I am going to teach you how you can install Linux over the top of your already existing operating system, which is Windows 10 in my case. If you are starting out to learn Linux, you might be wondering that you will need to install Linux in order to play with it and practice. And in order to do that, you might need a second computer or a laptop. But no, that is not exactly the case. You can actually install Linux over the top of your existing Windows on your existing laptop or desktop computer. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open my browser and go to virtualbox.org. I'll go to the downloads section. So I'm going to download VirtualBox 7.0.6 for Windows. You will have this dialog box pop up and you will just click save to start downloading. In my case, I have already downloaded this software, so I am not going to do that. So VirtualBox is the software that is going to allow us to install a second operating system on Windows. And the second thing that we need is our operating system setup that we are going to install. So for that I'll go to releases.ubuntu.com. So Ubuntu is a very popular Linux operating system and you can download either one of these, but for demonstration purposes I'm going to go with the latest one, which is Ubuntu 22.04.2. So I click on that. That there are a couple of options to download from. There is a desktop image and there is a server image. So the difference between the two is that the server image doesn't provide you with any graphical interface. Like for example in Windows you have this graphical interface where you can click everything and browse, and you use your Windows every day using your graphical interface. But in the server version of Ubuntu you will not get graphical interface and you only get the command line interface. If you're just starting out, I'd recommend that you download the desktop image because it will help you relate things better. So just click here and click save to start the download. So in my case, as you can see, I have downloaded a bunch of images already, so I'm going to skip this part. So once you have your VirtualBox and your ISO image downloaded, you will need to install VirtualBox application. You will go to the location where you downloaded your VirtualBox setup, double click on it and just hit next for everything, and it will start the installation, and the installation will complete like in a minute or two, right? So I have already installed VirtualBox, so I'm going to quit this setup and I'm going to launch my VirtualBox application. So once the VirtualBox is installed and you have launched it, you will see a screen something like this, right? And VirtualBox, what it does is that it allows you to create virtual machines. So what is a virtual machine, you ask? Virtual machine is just like your physical computer machine, but it runs on your existing computer and it appears like if it is a separate machine, right? So you can think of it as a second laptop, but you are running it on your existing hardware, your existing laptop or desktop, right? It has its own operating system. It will have your virtual machines will have their own RAM, CPU and hard disk space that is basically taken from your hardware, your physical computer. So for example, in my case I have 16 gigabytes of RAM, and out of that 16 gigabyte I can assign 2 gigabytes or 4 gigabytes of RAM to my virtual machine. So in order to create a new virtual machine, you can click here at the new, or you can go to the machines section and click at new. Now I'm going to name my machine Linux 101. You can name it whatever you want. In the second tab, you see that you need to select the storage location at where your machine's data will be stored. So you can store it wherever you want. For demonstration purposes, I am using this location. The third thing is that you need to select the setup, the ISO images that you have downloaded already. So this is like a virtual CD-ROM, right? Just like you insert a disk in your computer or a CD-ROM in your computer. So it is going to attach this ISO image as if it was a CD-ROM or a virtual CD drive to this machine, right? So you can browse for your setup. I have already downloaded Ubuntu 22 desktop image, so I'm going to select this one. You will hit next, and on this page you can create a username and password that you will use later to log into your operating system. So just like in Windows you have all these users, the administrator user or the other users that you create, and you create a password. So in case of Linux you are going to do the same. So I'm going to create a user by the name of Ahmad. I'm going to create a password. I'm going to repeat the password, and that's all that you need to do here. So leave everything as it is for now and hit next. Now on this screen you're going to allocate some RAM and some processors to your machine. So depending upon the hardware that your laptop or your computer has, you can allocate some RAM and some number of CPUs. So for example, in my case, I have a total of 16 gigabytes of RAM in my computer, and out of this 16 gigabytes I can assign some amount of RAM to my virtual machine. So in my case I'm going to allocate 4 gigabytes of RAM for this virtual machine, and I'm going to allocate 2 virtual CPUs. Then I'm going to hit next, and here I'm going to create a virtual hard disk for my virtual machine, right? So just like in Windows you have all these hard drives that are attached physically to your computer, like for example C drive, D drive, E. You're going to create a virtual hard drive that's going to attach to your virtual machine. So for this example, let's say we create a 20 gigabytes of hard disk, and we're going to hit next. On the next screen we see a summary of all the settings that we have applied for this virtual machine. So for example, the name of the machine, the location of where the machine's data will be stored on our hard drive, the ISO image that it is going to use to set up Ubuntu. We allocated it 4 gigabytes of RAM and 2 CPUs, and created a hard drive of size 20 gigabytes. Okay, so now we're going to click finish for VirtualBox to start creating this machine. Now you see that it has instantly created a virtual machine and it is powering it up, and your machines will appear on this menu. You will see a dialog box pop up just like this one, and it will start setting up the machine, and it will start installing Ubuntu using the ISO image that you have attached to it. So once it has started the setup, there is not much that you need to change. It is going to install everything automatically, and you can just wait for like 10 or 15 minutes to allow it to finish setting up. I'm going to fast forward it for convenience, and once the operating system is installed, we'll get back to it. Alright, so after a few minutes our installation has completed, and after the installation has completed, the virtual machine will restart automatically, and now we see this login screen. So we are going to use our password that we entered while creating the machine in order to log in. And after entering our password, we're inside our machine. We're into the Ubuntu operating system. One thing that I would recommend is that you go to the display settings by right clicking and adjust the resolution to match your screen, so you can see better. So for example, I'll adjust my resolution to 1920 by 1080, hit apply and keep my settings. You can also click this box within a box icon here to adjust the virtual box resolution. If you're seeing things differently, you can adjust them. Okay, so that was it for installing the Linux, and now you can see that it's a virtual machine just like your Windows machine. So the next time, for example, if you want to start the machine again, you can right click on it and there is a start button, and you can just click normal start and it will start your machine again. So if you like this video and it helped you in any way, please hit the like button, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice day.